Welcome to Jalsa Fiji Radio. This is Program Director Vinesh, and this one is our new initiation, KYC Know Your Candidate project, and we have the extreme pleasure of welcoming MP Vanessa Weenink in our initial episode of KYC, and we would like to thank our knowledge partner Christchurch Bengali Community for their contribution, as well as Plains Media for onboarding our project. And this session is all about knowing our candidates better. This is not to be confused with an election campaign. We just want you to know what your candidates are doing and their role in their constituency. So we will begin this interview, and the questions will be around knowing more about, in this case, Vanessa Weenink. So thank you so much, Vanessa. We welcome you on board, coming to the studio. Of course, this is a weekend, but still busy. I know you have a lot of work to do, but today we are here, and so what we will do is we'll start up with a very simple question. Today the weather was very kind, I guess, and what have you been up to?
Today has been a wonderful day. It's beautiful weather. So actually today I've been out at Hallswell collecting for Aviva, which is Stopping Violence organisation, and chatting with locals, and people are incredibly generous, so it's been wonderful. And then just been out in the community chatting with people.
Thank you, Vanessa. And as I understand, you are, and as we all know, you are an elected MP, and your constituency is Banks Peninsula.
Yeah. So
would you like to kind of explain to us how the dimension of this?
So the Banks Peninsula electorate takes in the whole of the Banks Peninsula, but also it takes in all of the Port Hills, Sumner, Ferrymead, Woolston, through Summerfield, St Martin's, a little bit of Hoonhay, and Hallswell. So it's quite a diverse and large area, but most of the people live in Christchurch City. But it has a lot of farmland, a bit of forestry, lots of tourism, fishing, heaps of different things. So it's a really diverse community.
I see. And before we go on to your kind of background, which of course we are very interested in, so what would be the issues that's kind of the topmost when you go around in your constituency?
Yeah, well, the same as everywhere. I think at the moment everyone's concerned about the affordability of just getting around and living. The fuel crisis that's happening internationally is playing on everyone's mind, and how that plays through to the cost of things like groceries, and then jobs and housing. Then I think people are wanting to make sure that education and our health system are working well.
I see. As we all guessed, I mean, those are definitely those issues that everybody's concerned about. And if we get a chance after we finish up with our initial 10 minutes, where we will try to know more about you, if we can talk about that. But at the same time, we have some questions as well, which we'd like to ask, which kind of comes to us from our own migrant community, as you would expect.
Yeah.
So just about yourself. So before you became a politician, what have you been doing?
All right, well, thank you. So my background was that I was a general practitioner for over 20 years. I was working at Papanui Medical Centre before I started campaigning. I'd been working there as a owner of the GP practice for quite a while. And before that, I was actually a army officer. So I was a medical officer in the army. I deployed twice to Afghanistan and once to East Timor. And I grew up in a tiny little place called Canvastown and went to school in Marlborough Girls College. But my family have got deep roots and connections to the Banks Peninsula. My great-great-great-great-grandfather was the first architect of the Littleton Time Ball, and I've had family members who've lived on the peninsula and grew up there pretty much since the 1870s. So it's a really important place to me, really deeply in my blood, and I absolutely love it. I've got one son who is 21 now. He's studying. Yeah, he's studying chemical and process engineering at Canterbury, and I'm a very proud mum of him.
I see. And about interests, you have been a GP and you've been in the army as well.
Yeah.
But what about interests like?
So I love to to paint. So I'm a visual artist. I used to actually sell my art when I had time to do it. Now I don't find myself in the same sort of creative space and mindset so often, but I still like to do watercolors and acrylics and a bit of mixed media dabbling around. And I joke to people that actually my real hobby is buying art supplies, because I really love that. But I love to read and watch movies. I used to have a huge garden, but now I have a smaller garden, so I don't need to spend so much time in that. But I used to really love gardening and getting my hands in the dirt.
I see. And then the next obvious question, I think, which we would be coming to, which would be your journey into politics. Like you've been AGP, you've been in the army, and that your love for arts and gardening. So what made you a politician?
Well, I was starting to think that I wanted to take care of larger sort of communities and look at policy, and I'd started with doing a postgraduate diploma in public health, so I was really interested in that sort of thing. And then I realised, hey, politics is really public health on a really practical level, so I decided to get into that because I really care about service for our community and for our country, and so that's a deep value that I have. And getting into politics was, in some ways, a natural progression for me of looking after individuals, looking after communities, looking after the country.
I see. And now that you are a politician and looking back, how are we kind of like, for example, health wise? Are we improving? Are we there? Or you think that you are able to make any kind of difference?
Well, yeah, area? It's nothing changes quickly in the health system, and I think that what we found when we came into government was that the waiting list for things like surgery had really blown out. Partly that was because of COVID, but that only had a partial effect. Partly it was because the previous government had got rid of targets, and so we weren't keeping an eye on like how long people were waiting. So reinstating those targets has actually been really important to make sure that we keep an eye on it and keep improving all the things in the background that need to change. Our government's also increased the funding for general practice. So although we haven't solved every problem, I think we're making really practical steps to improve things. And there's a lot more that we can do, and I'm really excited about the work that we're doing in health.
Thank you so much. And you said you were in the army before, though it may not be something that you may be in charge as such when it comes to the government. But that's not, again, something that we hear much about.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
What's happening?
I think one thing that people often misunderstand is what's the point of having a defence force. And really, having a defence force is about participating in the world and making sure that New Zealand is contributing to all of the ways that we keep our world safe, because we're an open trading nation. And so for me, defence is actually about trade. It's actually about keeping our country safe. And so when we spend money on the Defence Force, we're spending money on making sure that New Zealand is contributing to the wider world, and making sure that we keep peace internationally, keep our waterways open, because navigation and freedom of the seas is deeply important to us in our trade. So when we talk about our Defence Force, we're talking about securing our future, and that's deeply important to me, and I think all New Zealanders.
And we do see a lot of young, young ones actually thinking about joining the military or the defense. And when we talk about defense, of course, we have got air and then land, and then we have got even water as well. So so it's quite wide over there. So the next question, well, I was quite interested. Your son, he's in uni at the moment, and we all know what we are hearing at the moment, what we are seeing, or it's basically a fact that all those graduates, they are struggling with finding a job. So have you got any thoughts about that?
Yeah, well, that's absolutely true. At the moment, when you've been through an economic downturn, jobs are harder to find, and it is just a reality of the way that economic cycles work, and that when you've gone through a downturn, jobs are often the last thing that slow down, but also the last thing to pick up. And so as we see businesses having more confidence in investing in themselves and investing in more workers, jobs will slowly start to pick up, and we've seen that starting to happen. Unfortunately, we get a bit of a headwind from international events, but actually I think as investors and companies start to improve their business and expand their businesses, we're going to see a lot more growth. And I think there's a lot of exciting opportunities happening, especially in the sciences and engineering type sectors.
Yes. And I guess you've been going ground at the moment, meeting people, greeting people, and talking to people. Have you been hearing voices from the businesses? Any concerns that they are raising, and maybe that's something they want you and your government to look at?
Yeah, absolutely. We talk to businesses a lot, and for them, we are living in very uncertain times, and that's something that we can't control. The effects of international disruptions we can't control. All we can control is how our government responds to that. And so it's very important that everything that we do is very targeted and timely, so that if we're giving any assistance to people during these hard times, it is actually to the right people, and so that we don't go out and blow a whole lot of money, because if the government spends too much money, it puts pressure on the economy by basically driving inflation. And if we drive inflation as well as having all of these external factors from our internal spending, then it'll just make things a whole lot worse. So our job as a government is to keep a steady hand on the tiller, and so at least no matter what's happening in the rest of the world, businesses and our communities can be sure that at least we've got our all of our responses really calm and considered in our response.
Thank you, Vanessa. And we are almost reaching our 10th minute mark. So the other thing I wanted to raise from the conversation we are having today is arts, your love for arts.
Yeah.
So when we look at New Zealand, we know we may be gifted because we have a lot of artists. And actually we had a lot of movies and made over here. And of course we have this TV series Shortland Street. I'm from Fiji, and it has been so popular over there. I'm not sure now, but when I was back in Fiji, we used to, like, everybody would tune into the TV and they wouldn't want to miss any Shortland Street episodes. What do you think is happening now? Are we making movies, or are we drifting away? Are we appreciating art enough, or is it one sector that can be looked into and maybe more jobs created there?
Oh, absolutely. The creative industries are a huge economic driver, not only for driving things like tourism, which is really obvious, but just in the fact that people who are making things and selling it are creating incredible depth of wealth in our country. I think sometimes you're right. Some people don't always appreciate the arts, but without having the arts, whether that be music or performances, whether that's movie or visual arts, anything like that, it makes life quite dry and boring. And you've seen our government's invested a lot in some major events which are showcasing the importance of the arts in terms of economic growth and development. It is true that during economic downturns, often people don't spend as much money on the arts, but it is important that people continue to develop themselves and that we continue to value that sector.
I see. And now we are approaching into our last kind of 5 minutes. So how do you regard yourself as a champion of? Is it like crime that you're more into, making sure that we have enough police presence? Or is it something else that
well, I mean, that's a big factor and a big focus for our government. So when we first came in, we had we decided that we wanted to target reducing the victims of violent crime, and we've done quite a lot of that. So we now know that there's about 49,000 fewer victims of violent crime. And there's been a huge reduction in things like ram raids and youth crime. That means that people are safer in their homes, and that was really important to us. When it comes to thinking of what do I personally, as a politician, what do I champion the most? Within my party, I'm what we call a blue-green. So I'm really, really interested in making sure that National is pushing policies that support and enable us to support the environment and conservation efforts. So I've been really vocal about our position on the Fisheries Amendment Bill. I've been really supportive of the work that Tama Pōtaka is doing around making sure that we have actually got practical ways of supporting and investing in our conservation work that we do in this country. Really excited to see a nature-based credit that we're bringing in alongside the carbon credit system. So all of those things will be practical ways that we invest and enable more conservation work in our country, because I think that is one of the best things about New Zealand is our natural environment. And from my perspective, there's no such thing as choosing over the environment versus economic values. They really go hand in hand. You can't have a stable economic plan if you've got environmental destruction, and you also can't have conservation without having a plan for how you're going to pay for it.
Thank you so much. This is one topic that we obviously need a lot of time on, because then that leads us to into mining, and there's so many other things that we can talk about, but unfortunately we can't today.
Yeah.
We'll have to catch up again in
I'd love
another
to.
session, and then we can dig more into it. But for now we are in our community question round. So when it comes to a community in your constituency, I know it's Healthwell and the areas that we have mentioned. So I guess that's a lot of kind of migrant population already.
Yeah, it's starting to be. Yeah, so traditionally, Banks Peninsula has been quite a European-based population, but the last census showed that there's been a growing population of migrants from India, Asian countries as well. And I've definitely noticed that when I've been out door knocking, and when you go to the local schools, the schools are really diverse, and the people that are going to the schools and the children there as well.
And one thing we have been hearing from our community is, of course, the changes that's going to happen or will be implemented into the citizenship rules. What would be your thoughts?
So I haven't seen exactly what those rules are going to be. It's not uncommon in some countries for there to be a test of some kind. I would be a little bit cautious about that and want to find out exactly what the purpose of it is. It's not something that requires a change of law. The Minister for Internal Affairs, who is Brooke Van Velden, can make those rules with her powers that she has. So I think the important thing is to make sure that it doesn't create barriers for people, because I think that immigration is one of the most important things in our country for our long-term, survival of our country, really. And immigrant population are extremely valuable in everything that they bring to this country. So I don't want there to be barriers to people. I want it to be a way of making sure that people understand what are the expectations around coming to New Zealand and living in New Zealand, without that being a way of putting people off. Because I think we're going to be competing for the best kind of people to be coming here, and I think that we don't want to be putting people off in any way.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. Unfortunately, I can't ask any more questions because we are up to our time now. So once again, thank you so much. So before we leave the studio, so what is your plan for tonight?
Actually, I'm going out this evening with a friend. I'm going to see the latest Star Wars movie.
Wow, good on that. All the best, and hope you enjoy. So thank you so much for coming to Plains Media Studio to do this interview. It has been our pleasure of interviewing MP Vanessa Weenink, and we would like to show our gratitude to Plains Media, of course, and our knowledge partner, Christchurch Bengali Community. And this interview is all about knowledge, passing on information, just letting you know more about your candidate, and it should not be confused as a election campaign. So we'll catch up again at some other time with another video. But for now, signing off from Jalsa Fiji Radio, this is Program Director Vinesh.